running back props, this is easy. It's going to be Bijan Robinson. He's the first running back off the board, no doubt about it. There's not going to be two go in the first round, and it's very, very highly likely that Jahmyr Gibbs is the second one off the board. If it's not, it's probably going to be Charbonnet, and that's going to be about it. There's no other guy that has really any sort of high grade. Now, there's a bunch of depth in this in the third, fourth rounds, fifth round, stuff like that. If you listen to the talent evaluators out there, they're all like, yeah, it's deep for guys that are going to be, third, fourth, fifth rounders, but there's nobody who's going high. It's going to be Bijan Robinson. That's going to be it. And most likely the second guy taken is going to be Gibbs, and that's going to be on day 2 anyway.
But how high is Bijan going, Matt? Because we got markets on that. Bijan Robinson at FanDuel, over under pick 12.5. You can get plus 134 on under 12.5. And that's interesting to me because I'll go back to the idea that the consensus is there's only 15 blue chip first round picks in this draft. And some of them are quarterbacks, and a lot of teams in the top 15 don't need a quarterback. Daniel Jeremiah has Bijan Robinson as his number 3 overall prospect in this draft. And I think you and I both agree that the positional value of running back is not worth taking them in the top 15, but that's not what we're in the business of doing here. We know for a fact that these teams in the NFL, a good number of them will not care about positional need or positional value. Some GMs do not subscribe to that. The smart ones do, but a lot of GMs do not. And they will trust their board when it comes to the first round pick and strictly go by grade. And if Bijan Robinson has a top 10, top 5 grade on their board, then they are not going to pass on him for a positional need that high in the draft. The positional need trumping grade generally will come in the later rounds when you have guys that are pretty close together here. So, for example, the Atlanta Falcons, we already know that they subscribe to the idea of sticking to the board and going with the grade over positional need because they spent a top 5 premium pick on a tight end in Kyle Pitts, and they're trotting out a 6th rounder right now. And we know Bijan Robinson is not just a 2-down back. He is a 3-down back with great hands. And the other thing I'll just mention here is, too, I don't think teams care so much about the cost of the running back at this point as we do, and draft Twitter does, and fantasy Twitter does, because Christian McCaffrey was the 8th overall pick on a 4-year contract. That total contract was only $17 million, and they have a 5th-year option on him. If Bijan Robinson is the elite player in this draft and one of the few offensive elite players in a draft where a bunch of wide receivers are not considered to be top 10 picks or even top 15 picks, I like that under 12.5 on Bijan Robinson.
Well, we have to just look at the outs is the thing, though. That's what we have to do. And again, so Carolina's not an out. Houston is not an out. Arizona's not an out. Indy is not an out. Seattle's not an out. Detroit is not an out.
I have 3 I think are outs. Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Tennessee. Those are the 3 I think maybe.
It comes down to 3 outs, and in those 3 outs, I think the very, very most likely is Philadelphia at 10. They have a roster that is complete enough that if you think you are one super playmaker away from getting right back into the thick of things yet again. Now, they did have some attrition on that in the offseason, but they're still a pretty loaded team. And so there's not a glaring place of need for Philly. And so I do think 10, I kind of look at this as a 1-out bet. I don't think Atlanta is going to take, I just do not think Atlanta is going to take a running back. Like I cannot see that actually being the case here. I do feel that this is a very big, very, very big kind of 1-out play in this, but it's a very strong 1-out as well, right? That's the other thing.
Are you talking about
very
Tennessee?
Strong 1-out with the Eagles?
Oh, with the Eagles. Okay. I actually think Tennessee might be the stronger out because they've already been rumored to try to trade Derrick Henry. Teams don't always draft for need in that upcoming season. They have their eyes down the road. We've heard a lot of GMs talk about building strength on strength so that the next year comes around and the cupboard's not bare at that position at that point. So I actually do think it's a couple of outs here, but I just go back to the fact that, this is not the normal running back. This is not Najee Harris or Travis Etienne last year. This guy is graded a hell of a lot higher in a much weaker draft class.
Day one, NFL ready, modern day NFL ready, like the whole 9 yards. Yes.
Yeah.
Like
This is more like, they're not the same type of running back, but they're both 3-down backs. This is more like a Christian McCaffrey type running back. And, when I saw some of the most respected draft evaluators out there make this guy one of the top 5 overall players in the draft, and there's only 15 good players in this draft, that's when it piqued my interest a little bit, that teams might just say, this draft sucks. We can get similar guys in later rounds. Let's just stick to the board and stick to the guy who's got the highest grade. And I think that might be Bijan Robinson in the top 12 picks.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, the one thing to mention about the Falcons, though, as you said, like they're kind of in a YOLO spot right now as it is anyway, right? I mean, like nobody in that division is really all that good. Like, I mean, could they think that getting
they traded for Jeff Okudah to kind of help cornerback a little bit? Okudah has stunk, but they've addressed another position of need already.
Do they think that getting a Robinson helps a Desmond Ridder in his first full season as starter, to go along with the second year of Kyle Pitt? I mean, like,
because Tyler Algier is not getting 300 touches.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I still would lean over because I think it's still a 1 or 2 out bet. But like you said, sometimes teams just start drooling over these players, and rightfully so. And a guy like this guy just doesn't come around very often, and so they might have to pull the trigger on that one.